What started as a routine late-night appearance turned into television chaos when Jennifer Lawrence confronted Jimmy Kimmel over his relentless mockery of her past stumbles, leading to an explosive on-air meltdown that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. The studio audience settled into their seats, unaware they were about to witness one of the most uncomfortable moments in late-night television history. Jimmy Kimmel bounced onto the stage with his usual swagger, flashing that trademark smirk that had become synonymous with celebrity roasting. Tonight's guest was Jennifer Lawrence, promoting her latest film, and the atmosphere backstage had already grown tense during rehearsals. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the woman who's made falling down an art form, Jennifer Lawrence," Kimmel announced, his voice dripping with the kind of condescension that had become his calling card. The audience applauded, but Lawrence's smile appeared forced as she made her way to the guest chair, her posture noticeably stiff. From the moment she sat down, Kimmel launched into his prepared material with ruthless precision. "So Jennifer, I have to ask, have you been practicing your walking lately? I mean, we haven't seen you trip on a red carpet in what, 6 months? That's practically a record for you." The audience laughed nervously, sensing something different. In the air tonight, Lawrence's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Jimmy, that's really your opening question?" Her voice carried a warning that Kimmel either didn't catch or chose to ignore entirely. "Oh, come on, don't be so sensitive. It's part of your brand now. The clumsy girl next door who somehow became America's sweetheart. Though I have to say, some people are starting to wonder if it's all just an act." Kimmel leaned back in his chair, clearly enjoying what he perceived as harmless banter. The comment hit differently than his usual jabs. Lawrence's publicist had specifically briefed the show's producers that the actress was dealing with anxiety issues and had requested they avoid making her physical mishaps the focus of the interview. This information had apparently never reached Kimmel, or worse, he had chosen to disregard it entirely. "An act?" Lawrence's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You think I've been faking anxiety attacks and panic disorders for laughs?" The studio fell silent. Even the production crew behind the cameras could sense the shift in energy. Kimmel, however, doubled down with the arrogance that had made him both famous and increasingly controversial. "Look, I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. You built your career on being the relatable, clumsy girl, but now you're one of the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood. At some point, don't you think people deserve to know what's real and what's performance?" Lawrence stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor with a sound that echoed through the now silent studio. "What's real, Jimmy? What's real is that I've been in therapy for years dealing with the trauma of having every mistake I make broadcast to millions of people. What's real is that I can't walk down a street without someone waiting for me to trip so they can get a viral video." The camera operators exchanged glances, unsure whether to keep rolling. In the control room, producers were frantically deciding whether to cut to commercial, but the raw authenticity of the moment kept them frozen in place. Kimmel, realizing he had crossed a line but too proud to back down, attempted to salvage the situation with humor. "Hey, I'm just doing my job here. If you can't handle a little roasting, maybe late-night television isn't for you." That comment was the match that lit the fuse. Lawrence's carefully maintained composure finally cracked, and what happened next would dominate headlines for weeks to come. "Can't handle a little roasting?" Lawrence's voice rose to a level that made the entire studio crew flinch. "Jimmy, you just mocked my mental health struggles on national television. You turned my genuine anxiety into a punchline for your ratings." The audience sat in stunned silence, many pulling out their phones to capture what was clearly becoming an unprecedented moment in late-night history. Kimmel's face flushed red as he realized the gravity of what he had unleashed, but his ego wouldn't allow him to apologize. "Jennifer, you're being way too dramatic here. This is comedy. People tune in to see celebrities get taken down a peg. That's literally the format of the show." Kimmel's voice carried a defensive edge that only made him sound more callous. "Taken down a peg?" Lawrence stepped closer to his desk, her hands trembling with rage. I came here as a professional courtesy to promote my film. I didn't sign up to be humiliated about my medical conditions. Do you have any idea what like to live with constant scrutiny? To have your worst moments replayed endlessly online? The control room was in chaos. Producers were shouting conflicting instructions, while executives tried to decide whether this was a disaster or television gold. The network's legal team was already being contacted, knowing this confrontation would have serious repercussions. Kimmel, feeling cornered and embarrassed in front of his home audience, made the fatal mistake of escalating further. "Oh, please, Jennifer. You've made millions playing the victim card. Poor little rich girl who can't handle a few jokes. Maybe if you weren't so sensitive, people wouldn't see you as such an easy target." The words hung in the air like poison. Lawrence's eyes widened in disbelief, and several audience members audibly gasped. Even Kimmel's usual supporters in the crowd shifted uncomfortably, recognizing that their host had crossed every line of basic human decency. Playing the victim card? Lawrence's voice was now shaking with fury. "Jimmy, I've never talked publicly about my anxiety disorders before tonight. The only reason I'm discussing it now is because you've forced me to defend my mental health on your show. This isn't comedy. This is cruelty." She turned to address the audience directly, bypassing Kimmel entirely. "This man just told millions of viewers that my mental health struggles are fake, that my panic attacks are performances, and that I deserve to be mocked for having human vulnerabilities. Is this really what entertainment has become?" Several audience members began nodding in agreement, and the energy in the room shifted dramatically. Kimmel could feel his control of the situation slipping away entirely. His writers in the wings were frantically scribbling notes, trying to come up with damage control material, but nothing could repair what had just happened. "You want to know what's real, Jimmy?" Lawrence continued, her voice now carrying the commanding presence that had made her one of Hollywood's most respected actresses. "What's real is that you've built your career on tearing people down instead of building them up. What's real is that you hide behind the excuse of comedy to justify being cruel to people who are just trying to do their jobs." Kimmel's desperation was now visible to everyone in the studio. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he realized this confrontation was spiraling completely beyond his control. His usual comeback arsenal felt pathetic in the face of Lawrence's raw honesty and justified anger. "Look, Jennifer, I think you're overreacting here. We can talk about this off camera if you want." His attempt at de-escalation came across as weak and insincere, only adding fuel to Lawrence's fire. "Overreacting?" Lawrence laughed bitterly. "Jimmy, you just spent 10 minutes mocking my mental health, suggested I was lying about my anxiety for career advancement, and then told me I can't handle criticism when I defended myself. The only thing I'm reacting to is your complete lack of professionalism and basic human empathy." The tension in the studio had reached a breaking point. Production assistants were whispering urgently into their headsets while camera operators continued filming, knowing they were capturing something that would be analyzed and discussed for years to come. Kimmel made one final desperate attempt to regain control of his show. "Jennifer, I think we should just move on and talk about your movie. That's what people really want to hear about." His voice carried a pleading quality that revealed just how badly he had miscalculated this entire exchange. Lawrence stood frozen, for a moment staring at him with a mixture of disgust and pity. "Move on? Jimmy, you just spent the last 15 minutes systematically attacking my character and mental health, and now you want to pretend it never happened, so we can do a nice little promotional segment?" She shook her head slowly, a sad smile crossing her face. "This is exactly the problem with this industry. People like you think you can say whatever you want, hurt whoever you want, and then just move on when it becomes inconvenient. Well, I'm not moving on, and I'm not pretending this is okay." The audience was completely silent now, hanging on every word. Many had their phones out, live streaming the confrontation to social media platforms where clips were already going viral. In the control room, Executives were realizing they were witnessing either the end of Kimmel's career or the beginning of a massive controversy that would define his legacy. Lawrence turned back to the audience one final time. "I want everyone watching to understand something. What you just witnessed isn't entertainment. It's a powerful man using his platform to mock someone's mental health struggles and then getting angry when called out on it. This behavior is exactly why so many people in our industry suffer in silence." Her words carried the weight of years of frustration, not just with Kimmel, but with an entire system that prioritized shock value over human dignity. Several audience members began applauding, starting slowly but building into sustained applause that clearly supported Lawrence over their host. Kimmel's face had gone from red to pale as he realized the audience was turning against him in his own studio. "Jennifer, I never meant to—" "Stop." Lawrence's voice cut through his attempted apology like a blade. "You knew exactly what you were doing. Your producers briefed you about my anxiety issues, and you chose to ignore that information because you thought mocking my mental health would get bigger laughs." The revelation sent shockwaves through the studio. Audience members gasped audibly as they realized the attack on Lawrence hadn't been spontaneous, but calculated and deliberate. Kimmel's face confirmed the truth of her statement before he could even attempt to deny it. "That's right, Jimmy. This wasn't just poor judgment or bad comedy. This was a deliberate decision to humiliate me for entertainment value, despite knowing it could cause real psychological harm. That's not comedy. That's cruelty with an audience." Lawrence gathered her composure one final time, straightening her posture and addressing both Kimmel and the cameras directly. "I came here tonight to talk about a film I'm proud of, to connect with fans, and to have a professional conversation. Instead, I was ambushed and attacked by someone who's supposed to be a professional host." She looked directly at Kimmel, her voice steady and final. "Jimmy, you owe apologies to every guest who's ever sat in this chair and been made to feel small for your entertainment. You owe an apology to everyone struggling with mental health who heard you mock their experiences tonight. But most importantly, you owe yourself some serious reflection about what kind of person you want to be." With that, Lawrence walked toward the exit, her heels clicking against the studio floor in the deadly silence. The audience watched in stunned amazement as she paused at the edge of the stage, turned back one final time, and delivered her parting words. "To everyone watching at home, remember that you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, no matter who you are or what platform someone else might have. Don't let anyone tell you that cruelty is just entertainment." She disappeared through the exit door, leaving Kimmel alone on stage with a studio full of uncomfortable silence. The cameras continued rolling, capturing his stunned expression as he realized the magnitude of what had just occurred. Within hours, clips of the confrontation had exploded across every social media platform, with overwhelming support for Lawrence and widespread condemnation of Kimmel's behavior. The hashtag #RespectOverRatings began trending worldwide, as celebrities and fans alike shared their own experiences with media bullying. Kimmel's ratings plummeted in the following weeks, as advertisers pulled their support and A-list celebrities began declining invitations to appear on his show. The confrontation had exposed a darker side of late-night entertainment that audiences were no longer willing to tolerate, marking a turning point in how the industry approached celebrity interviews and mental health awareness.